Hello everybody, this is CaptainJack and I'm one of the Minecrafters, and today we are going to be talking about reactor force fields, specifically reactor containment field projectors. And along with the reactor containment field projector, we are going to be talking about the reactor coolant injector because they work marvelous together. Alright, let's get started. First of all, we have the reactor containment field projector. Now, this is an extremely hard component to make. It's going to require 4 carbon plate, 3 advanced alloy, 1 advanced circuit, and this area force field projector. Now, the area force field projector, unfortunately, is also extremely hard to make. And to make the area force field projector, you are going to need 8 reinforced stone and a force field projector base. And to make a force field projector base, you're going to need a diamond lens, 2 redstone repeaters, an electrolyzer, 2 carbon plate, and 2 more reinforced stone. And to make this energy modulator, you are going to need a frequency transmitter, 3 glass fiber cable, an electronic circuit, and to make the frequency transmitter, you're going to need a copper cable and an electronic circuit. So this is an extremely hard component to make, but it is well worth it, I can assure you. Next, we're going to be talking about the Reactor Coolant Injector, and this is going to be crafted by an advanced machine block, 3 LZH condensators, 4 advanced alloy, and 1 chest, and that will give you the Reactor Coolant Injector. Alright, before these are actually useful, you are going to need a force field core, because this core will provide the power that you need to power the reactor containment field projector, and in turn, this will power this, the reactor coolant injector. So let's see how we make the force field core. 2 advanced circuits, 1 electrolyzer, 1 MFE, 1 energy modulator, 2 advanced alloy, and 2 electrolyzed water cells, and you make electrolyzed water cells in an electrolyzer. Funny enough, that will give you the force field core, and this will be the base of all of your force fields that you will ever build ever. Next, we have the force field core storage upgrade, and this, along with the next unit here, are optional. I would recommend a force field core storage upgrade or 3 if you are going to make a nuclear reactor. It just reduces the chance that your force field or that your reactor will melt everything's face around it. These are pretty simple to make. All you need is 4 advanced alloy, 1 electrolyzed water cell, and you get a force field core storage upgrade. Yay! A force field range upgrade, these are fairly self-explanatory items, but I will go over them anyway, is made by a frequency transmitter, there we go, and 4 advanced alloy. That's going to give you a force field core range upgrade, and we will talk about these in just 1 second. Okay, so let's take a look at how to set one of these up really quick. First of all, you're going to want to have your force field core because that's the main component, and then you're going to want to add optional features to the outside of your force field core. Now, this is my core. Right now it's loading up. This is going to be able to store a total of 7 million EU, and that's because I have 3 additional reactor force field core storage upgrades. The core storage upgrades are going to allow your force field core to handle 2 million more EU, so 2 million each plus 1 that the core can hold is going to give you a total of 7 million EU. Now I have the EU being injected through the top here by an HV solar array. You can also put HV solar arrays or whatever kind of power source, doesn't matter what it is, it could be generator, some distance away and pipe in the power with glass fiber cable or whatever kind of cable you want to use. And you can also use something called an EU injector, which I won't be going into right now, and you can place that on top of your force field core to inject EU, just like it explains, or just like it says. Okay, now I can attach a lot of components to the outside of this. Right now we're at 7 million power, but if I was really paranoid that this wouldn't last me through the night because maybe I had a bunch of different reactors hooked up to it or a bunch of different force fields hanging off one core, you can actually place these all around the outside. Any block will work like that. It won't extend any farther than that, but this will give you a total of, I think, 17 million EU, and that is a ton. So you can place blocks all around the edges. If you put a block up here, it's not going to work. Okay? So that's where you can place blocks. Up there, you cannot place blocks underneath the core. They will not work. You can see how these are 2 completely different colors. If I slap this on here, you're going to notice that it immediately changed color to tell me that it's linked to the reactor. So no blocks on the bottom. It will not work. So force field core storage upgrades at 2 million each, plus the core can hold 1. Now, if you have a reactor projector that's very far away, or if you have a force field that's very far away, or if you want to make one central core attached to a bunch of different force fields, whether they be reactor force fields or other different kinds, which we'll take a look at in a second maybe, you can attach these range upgrades, the force field core range upgrades. And this will not work underneath just like the other ones. When it's not working, it's black. When it is working, it's going to turn red just like that. And what that's going to do is it's going to increase the default range by 2 times. So right now we have transmit range of 16 blocks. If I attach this on, it's going to go to 32. Now if I again attach another one of these, it's going to double again. So it's going to multiply itself by 2. From 64, we're going to go to 128. From 128, we're going to go to 256. And this, you can really have a massive range on here. You can supply your whole servers thing, 2048 blocks. This thing will power stuff from probably anywhere in the world. Chunk loaders will be useful there probably. So this is what these 2 components do, and this is how they behave. Okay, so we're going to attach these back onto here. We're going to have a ample supply of power. Let's change it to daytime so we can still feed power in here. You'll note that these are connected, so we have 3 linked projectors. That's 1 projector here, 1 here, and 1 here, and we'll talk about those in a second, and we'll talk about how to link them in just 1 second. But as you can see, this thing here corresponds to the core over there, so we're almost at 3 million, and if we take a look at here, almost at 3 million, just as well. So this is linked to that, and just so we know it's linked, we can actually turn this on, and we can see our force field up and running and with power. Very good. Now, how do you get your power from this core to your reactor containment field projector, which is this thing right here? To do this, you are going to need a blank ARS card, and to get a blank ARS card, you're going to need 4 paper, 4 redstone, and 1 electronic circuit. And this will give you 8 blank ARS cards. Now, you see these are different. Let's discuss it. First of all, I'm going to take a bunch of these from here. You'll see that this is black and white to start out with, and you see that the force field frequency card ends up at a totally different item and a totally different color. So let's find out how to link the 2 of these together. If I take this out, all of a sudden it's not linked and I have no power. And if I flip this on and off, I get nothing. Holy crap, very dangerous. Okay, so let's eliminate the danger and link these 2 together. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to right-click on your force field core. Yes, I forgot the name for a second. When you have this blank ARS card equipped, and you will notice, boop, when I click it, you will receive, well, that was anticlimactic. Okay, here we go. You'll receive a force field force field frequency card, and it will change colors once you right-click on there. And if you put this inside of here, it automatically, and it turned on for me, it automatically recognizes that this core is linked to this projector. And that is how you link these 2 things together. Okay, so I have force field core storage upgrades. You can attach a range upgrade to this thing to make it reach farther. And you need a blank ARS card to link the 2 of these things together. That is the only way to do it. Next, let's talk about the Reactor Coolant Injector. What does this thing do? The main function of the Reactor Coolant Injector is to inject coolant, funny enough, into your reactor. Now, what needs cooling inside your reactor? Well, LZH and RSH condensators need cooling. And if you haven't watched my breeder reactor tutorial, you will note that redstone restores 5,000 of 30,000 heat, and lapis restores 40,000 heat of 100,000 heat. So LZH condensators can absorb up to 100,000 heat, and RSH condensators can absorb up to, I believe, 20,000 heat. 20,000 heat. 20,000 heat. So this will restore 5k heat each time. And what you want to do is you want to have your reactor coolant injector loaded up with coolant, either redstone or lapis, to jam inside of this thing every time these things get low. Now, this coolant injector, as long as it is powered by your force field right here, your reactor containment field projector, as long as it's powered, it's going to inject into these RSH and LZH condensators when they reach 7,000 durability. Now you see this one right here, this RSH condensator has 6,000 6,967 left on it. When that number hits 7,000, the reactor coolant injector will ram a redstone inside of there, and it will store the heat by 4,000, and I will demonstrate that momentarily. I also want you to note that you can see if these things are powered on and off by the color that they are. You see these are a dull gray color, and if I turn this on, you'll see that they turn a nice, lovely blue there. So if you're wondering if they're powered on or off, that's how you can tell. You can place these things on the very outside edge or the inside edge of your reactor. Personally, I recommend the outside edge. That's because you don't cut through your projection field here. Okay, so that's how you place that. I'm going to show you what this thing does, and then I'm going to show you what the importance of these little yellow cubes are here. So as you can see inside of here, these things are almost depleted, and if I turn this on and I also turn this on, you're going to notice that these are going to recharge slowly. There we go, 7,000, bam, bam, cooled the entire reactor, and it allows it to run safely even if it was at a high heat. Now don't copy this arrangement here. There's nothing efficient about it. I just wanted to show the RSH and LZH condensators being recharged by the reactor coolant injector, which is powered by the reactor containment field projector. Now this box, it's a 5x5 box, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 5 by 5, contains the blast of a nuclear meltdown. Now if you have properly constructed your nuclear reactor, you will not have a blast to contain, which is the ideal situation or the optimal situation. So you don't want to break this thing in the case of a meltdown. You can see this is a solid block all the way up and down, except for right here. Now you'll notice that I can click inside of this thing. I should not be able to do that normally, but since I've attached a redstone wire right here, or a red wire cable, I can look through here and see inside of this thing, and that's the only purpose that this thing serves at all. If I were to break this, boop, the reactor closes up, and I can right click all I want, and all I do is place blocks. So you're going to want to make sure that there are no holes in your force field. That way when, or if you've built the reactor incorrectly, or if it melts down, minimal damage will be sustained by your meltdown. And I will show you right over there how much damage this thing contains. Okay, so far we've gone through the reactor containment field projector that supplies the force field, which will contain the blast of an imminent nuclear meltdown if you built one correctly, and a reactor coolant injector, which will cool your RSH and LZH condensators if it is placed properly. So next, we're going to go over automation and how to fill this thing automatically without ever having to worry about it. And we're going to show you what happens if the reactor blows up. How much damage will this thing do? Alright, now let's find out how to automatically inject coolant into your reactor coolant injector. Now there's a couple ways of doing it. We're going to show you how to use Red Power 2 to do it and Applied Energistics. Now I would prefer, or I recommend Applied Energistics, but if you prefer Red Power, I'll show you how to do that as well. The first and most basic way is to use just a simple filter hooked up to a chest, hooked up to your reactor coolant injector. Now if I take this and put it inside of here, just not like that. I'm going to put that there. I'm going to put this inside the chest. What this is going to do is if I flip this on, it's going to put one redstone at a time into your coolant injector, and that's because I have it set to pull just one. I have the filter set up to say, hey, go and grab one redstone and put it into the injector. Now I could also do 61, and then I'll put stacks of 61 inside there. It'll do a little faster. This is not the ideal setup. We don't like timers. They lag the server. A lot of servers have banned them or banned machines that you can't shut off. This is a way to shut it off, but this is not ideal or recommended. So you can use a simple filter to fill this up, but if you are really going to do this properly, you should have a full Red Power 2 setup, and that's a retrievulator combo hooked up to your reactor coolant injector. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to show you this. I'm going to show you how it works, and I'm going to show you why this is a little bit better. What I have here is I have a retrievulator set to grab 1 redstone if there's less than 64 redstone inside the target chest, which is the reactor coolant injector. There we go, I have 64. And I also have this set up to say, if I have less than 17, please go and get me 1. So I have 17 in here exactly. Now, what this does is, if I take, let's say if I take half of these out here, what the retrievulator is going to do is say, holy crap, we have less than 64. Please, retriever, go and get me some more redstone. So, what that's going to do, as soon as it fires up, is pull redstone out of, actually it's going to empty the overflow chest first, and then it's going to empty this chest over here. If I just take them all out, that will work much better. There we go. Pulls from the overflow chest first, and if you want to know how those work, you're going to have to watch some of our other videos. But this is saying if I have less than 64, go and grab 1. So it's going to grab redstone, and it's going to pull it through these pneumatic tubes, and it's going to bring it right into the reactor coolant injector, and it's going to slowly and slowly fill up. Now I can also set it to grab, let's say 5 at a time. We'll make it odd. There we go. We'll have it set so it grabs 5 at a time instead of 1. And you'll be able to see how the stacks get just a little bit bigger as it grabs it, and this goes up by a little bit more. So that is going to satisfy, and anything extra that it requests is going to plop down in this chest right here. There we go, very nice demonstration. Okay, pneumatic tubes, that's how they work. That's how they pull things from this chest into the coolant injector. Now if you have target chests that are extremely far away, for example this lapis chest down here, which has a bunch of coolant in it, but it's a little bit farther away, you're going to want to use these accelerators hooked up to mag tubes. So you can accelerator, mag tube, and then a decelerator, which is just another accelerator hooked up at the bottom. So it will pull these coolants 20 times faster up and into your reactor coolant injector. Now right now I have it set to say, hey, if I have less than 17, go grab me 1. So what happens if I increase this to 20, let's say 30? What it's going to do is it is going to do the same exact thing. And to speed it up, I'm going to take this out, and this is going to request lapis from this thing here, and you can see how fast that these are going to get pulled through here as opposed to the pneumatic tube. And as soon as it starts firing up, you will see how this works. There we go. You see it goes very slow through the pneumatic tube down the bottom, and yet it goes extremely fast through the mag tube. That's a really good example of how these work. There we go. So it's requesting stuff, and it's bringing it right up into your reactor coolant injector. And you can put a couple in here at a time, and it's going to fill up with lapis lazuli until it satisfies the 30 that the retrievulator wants. Now, a couple people have asked the question, well, how do I get this thing so that it will bring in more than 1 stack? Because I have a lot of lapis and I have a lot of redstone, and there's a lot of empty spaces here in my coolant injector, and I want to make sure that it's full at all times so my reactor definitely doesn't blow up. Well, you can do it in one of 2 ways, and I will recommend the way that I would like you to use in the smarter way after I show you the way that's not quite as good. In this version of Red Power, if you're using Tech-A-Lite, you can right shift click to increase the amount by up to 127. And this is going to keep shoving stuff in here. It's going to take a while to whir up again. But if you right shift click, it's going to bring in a bunch more stuff, and it's going to continue to load it. Now it's loading lapis first. As you can see, this is going higher and higher. And I can set it so it grabs, let's say, just grab 17 at a time. No messing around. There we go. It's going to alternate actually until the first one is satisfied, and that's going to load up 5 at a time. It should be satisfied. Here comes the lapis. Bam, bam, bam. This is coming in 17 at a time. That is one way to do it, but you're still not going to fill this entire thing up. How do you get the whole thing full? What you want to do is you're going to want to trick the retrievulator into thinking that it never has enough. And the way to trick the retrievulator is to put an item in the R side that it could never possibly find. Now, I have chosen to use a nether star, and if you have nether stars laying around, then you are a boss. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out, and I'm going to left shift click this down to nothing. I'm going to remove this, And I'm going to put a nether star in this side. And I'm going to say anytime there's less than one nether star in the system, please go and get me 17 of those things. And what this system is going to do is it's going to go wild and say, I can't find another star, give me more lapis, more lapis, more lapis, more lapis. And it's going to continue to request lapis until this entire system is 100% full, or your entire reactor coolant injector is 100% full. So that's how you get it to trick the retrievulator. And there we go. It's going to keep requesting until this entire thing is full, and it's going to pull out of my overflow chest first. Then it's going to go down here, and it's going to grab out of the regular chest. Here we go. Very nice, very smooth, right into my reactor coolant injector. And there we go. It's going to fill it right up to the top. So that's how you keep this reactor coolant injector full, and that's how you automate this whole process. Okay? I hope that helps explain how to use it using red power 2. Next, we are going to show you how to use applied Energistics to automate the system. It's much easier, much simpler, and you guys are going to love it. So we have this jammed reactor containment field, or reactor containment injector, and all that you're going to need to do is get your ME system. I have an ME controller hooked up to an ME chest with a 64K coolant or storage cell with tons and tons and tons of redstone and lapis inside of there. And as long as you have your ME system set up, and if you don't know how to set up your ME system, please check out our 4-part tutorial series on how to set up your applied Energistics system. It's very comprehensive. Anyways, you're going to want to use this 2 export buses. You're going to only need 1. Depending on what's inside your reactor, you might need 2 if you have RSH and LZH condensators. I'm not sure why you would have both, but in any case, you can use these export buses. That's what these are here. 1 export bus, 2 export buses, ME cable, controller, ME chest, MFSU power source powered by a solar panel up here. That's what this is, just to let you guys know what's going on. We got power from the core down there. Very nice. Coolant injectors turned on. And what this is going to do is it is going to inject stuff based on how much you want or how much you select into your reactor containment field projector. Now I'm going to go over here. I'm going to dump all this stuff back inside the chest, and it's actually going to just shove it right back into here, which is fairly... it's not going to work. Okay, let's try this one more time. Alright, let's empty this real quick. Okay, here we go. Fairly empty. I have 2 export buses, and these export items out of the system and into a target chest. That's why they're facing this way. They look like a little arrow. They look like a little arrow facing into the chest. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, this is always going to be active, and I always want to try to inject 1 redstone per tick inside this coolant injector. And momentarily, it is going to start loading this thing with redstone, if I have any in the system at all. Oh, this is a pain. Here we go. Oh, it's going to do full stacks too, because I have failed to show you how to do this. Okay, there we go. Let's put these back in the system for the 4th time. La-di-da-di-da-di-da. And you can see here that it's going 1 at a time. This is going a lot faster than Red Power 2 can ever possibly inject things into your system. One reason why I recommend it. The other reason is that you can change this to inject stacks of items, which is going to fill this up so fast that you can barely see it. There we go. The entire thing's loaded. It just throws anything that you have in your storage directly into your coolant injector via an export bus. So if I empty these all out, it's going to just jam more inside of here. But since it's empty, and this happens so fast, you can't even see it happen. So this is a really great function of applied Energistics, and that is why that we would recommend it. Now you can also set it to export 1 item at a time, and you can do 1 at a time, and you can also export lapis lazuli at the very same time. Now again, I'm not entirely sure why you'd want to do this, but just in case you do need to do it, what this is going to do is, as long as it has lapis lazuli in the system, always active, there we go, it's going to start injecting both, and you'll always have a full, complete supply of coolant inside of your reactor injector. There we go. So it's loading it up, and you can choose to load full stacks at a time. You can increase its quantity. You can set it to be attached with a level emitter. You can customize this system in a whole bunch of different ways, but this is really the simplest way to do it. Now, if you have two export buses attached to your coolant injector, what's going to happen is it's going to cut your reactor containment field right here. So see, now I can click inside this reactor. This block is cut. So if your reactor were to melt down, which would be very unfortunate, it would explode out this way and take out anything that was over here. Now, the likelihood of that happening, if you've watched any of my videos, should be very slim. But just so you know, if you do cut this field with another block, that's what happens. It will increase the chances of an explosion coming out of that side of the block. Okay, so we've used Red Power 2 to automate the injection of coolant inside your reactor, and we have used applied Energistics. Now, let's take a look at one last thing. The last thing that we are going to talk about is how devastating an explosion would be if you were to melt down your reactor. And what I have prepared for us here is a door. We must go through the door. There we go. And we are going to go over to this little reactor that I have set up. This is a terrible setup, and this is going to melt down extremely fast, but what I've done is I provided a 3-block thick layer of reinforced stone on this side, just because I want to protect my tutorial over there in case the thing blows up, which it won't if it's 3 blocks. I got some dirt, and I got some stone here. So let's see what happens if I turn my reactor field, or my reactor containment field projector on, and I melt this baby down. So I'm going to come up here so we can see the devastating effects of a reactor meltdown. There we go. Okay, so nothing happened, pretty much. It blew a few blocks down, and since I'm on flat world, it blew to bedrock. Everything around here, except for a couple blocks here, a couple random blocks, remain intact. So the reactor containment force field is going to seriously protect you from a nuclear meltdown. So that's one of the greatest benefits of this, aside from the reactor coolant injector. So there we go. We got a full meltdown. Basically nothing happened. Everything's safe. Okay, so let's go back inside my tutorial here, and we must enter through the door. And why must we enter through the door? Well, I haven't showed you one last thing yet. And that is this marvelous little switch here in the middle. And I will be discussing more about this little switch later on. But if I flip that switch... La, 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 la. Okay, we have this massive thing. And the door is useful now. Okay, this is a force field. And it's not a reactor force field. This is to protect all of your fat loots from all those prying eyes. And you can set these things to have various functions and various, or you can set it to zap people to death if they come near it. You can camouflage upgrade it, which is what this is. And I will be showing you how to use force fields of all kinds in the future. But for now, you're just going to have to be happy with Reactor Force Field and the Reactor Force Field Coolant Injector. I hope this has helped. I hope this has helped you to understand how you automate the injection of coolant into your Reactor Force Field Injector coolant thingy mabobber majigger, so your stuff doesn't blow up. I hope this has been informative and helpful, and there will definitely be more videos coming soon from the Captain. So I would like all of you to visit our channel and check out all of our other amazing videos, because we have tons of videos on everything imaginable. Mob zappers that will destroy any player that comes close to your stuff if they do not have the proper key. We have massive nuclear setups. We have sorting machine tutorials. We're going to have maceration rig tutorials, tesseracts versus phased pipe, all kinds of great stuff. Guys, we are the Tekkit Light Masters, and you should follow us. So give the video a like, check out our website, it's minecrafters.com. Check us out on Facebook, we're the minecrafters.com on Facebook. And as always, guys, stay poised.